Greetings and salutations, folks. I hope everyone is doing well, and welcome to today's upload. Before we jump into it, a couple quick links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman, Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support this channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost you a cent. Click that like button. It takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads that I put out daily, click the bell icon. And folks, please leave a comment and share the video. Why? Well, because all these things, they really do help the channel to continue to grow and go. They definitely do matter, and they are appreciated. And with that, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to today's upload, shall we? All right, folks, so this is part 2 to yesterday's upload where Dogman attacked a Mennonite family in Mexico, Campeche, Mexico, which is on the Yucatan Peninsula. And if you hadn't heard that upload, please go back and check that out first. I have an update on something that I want to share with you before we jump into this upload that is just by far a puzzle connector. And I actually ended up talking to Yuri again and his friend Leo, who is Mexican. Lives on the Yucatan Peninsula. Actually, he works and has been affiliated with the Mennonite congregation down there. I guess he would be considered a Mennonite if Mexicans can become Mennonites. I'm not really sure how that works. That was actually a conversation that we had, and I kind of baffled Yuri, and he's a funny, for being someone so close to like the Amish in their ways and culture. He is definitely just, I can't even explain. I cannot not explain. I laugh thinking about our conversations. I actually told Isabel how nuts he is. So I ended up speaking to Leo Cato, which is his first name, and sorry about that. Leo, we'll just call him Leo, but his real name is Leo Cato. It's an old Mexican name. He's named after like his great grandfather and his great great grandfather. But I wanted to share with you guys an update out of Quaidville, Ontario, because something very strange has gone on with that case. And I feel for the family and for the little girl, but I'm not sure how any of this can really be on the level. And you will see why. All right, so back in June 23rd, there was a very strange disappearance, missing person, and animal attack. The young girl was clinging to life when she was found. And there were experts brought in trying to figure out what kind of animal had done this. And Well, the update is shocking because I like I said, I don't know. I feel for the family terribly and for that little girl. But the outcome or the information, the newest information to me is very strange, and I don't know if it's on the level. I can't make sense of it. So, June 23rd, residents of a small village. This is the news article on the 24th, the day she was found. So she had disappeared. She was last seen at 6 p.m. on the 23rd, a Monday. Found at midnight or 12:30, somewhere around there, Tuesday morning. So gone 6.5 hours. And this area called Quaidville is very isolated. It's very woodsy. Dirt roads, just, houses few and far between. Small village. Residents of a small village in the rural eastern Ontario are reacting with uncertainty and concern after a young girl was found seriously injured in their community under circumstances that remain unclear. On Tuesday, Ontario Provincial Police warned residents of Quaidville, a village located about 60 kilometers southwest of Renfrew, to keep their children indoors and under close supervision following an overnight incident that left an 8-year-old girl clinging to life. Though this appears to be an isolated incident, investigators are still working to determine the cause of the child's injuries, the police force said Tuesday on social media. Jordan Genrick, chief of Brudnell and Lindick and Reglan Fire Department, told CBC on Tuesday afternoon that the firefighters helped the OPP officers remove the injured girl from the woods in Quaidville around 12:30 a.m. Tuesday. An area of forest behind home located on Quaidville Road Quaidville Road was blocked off by police tape. Renfrew County paramedics confirmed to CBC that they provided care to the child but did not elaborate the nature of her injuries. OPP said the child remains in the hospital and working with medical officials as a part of the investigation. They warned parents to keep their children indoors and under close watch until the source of the victim's injuries can be determined. We honestly don't know what the source of the injuries are, OPP spokesperson Bill Dickinson said. Patient Transport Service, ORNIG, said in an email Tuesday afternoon they took a child patient to a child's hospital in Ottawa with critical injuries relating to an animal attack. Child reported missing on Monday. OPP separately issued a missing person bulletin on Monday night with photos of the child who had last been seen at 6 p.m. at a grocery store in Quaidville. The missing child, who police said was 8 years old, was later found. Local fire department said on social media, in the light of the recent events in Quaidville, it would not be participating in the local Canada Day festivals, including firework display planned for Saturday. Out of respect for the family, community, and our firefighters' mental health, we hope you understand, the fire department wrote. John Hodge, resident of Quaidville for the last 2 years, lives in a wooded area police had coordinated off. He said OPP officers came to his home early Tuesday morning to ask about a young girl who had gone missing. Later on Tuesday, after the girl had been found, OPP came back to ask Hodge if he had spotted any wildlife in the area. Hopefully, she's going to be okay, and this was an isolated incident, he states. Other people who live in the area told CBC the police had been to their homes to ask if they have any pets or if they had seen any wildlife. They said locals have been searching for a missing child on Monday evening, and the police dogs eventually found her. Just terrible. I've been terrible all day, one resident said how she felt on Tuesday. We live in a rural spot We don't expect stuff like this. Quaidville is part of Brudnell, Lindick, and Raglan townships in Renfrew County at about 130 kilometers west of downtown Ottawa and 30 kilometers southeast of Barry's Bay. Township is 1,550 residents as of 2021. Now, about a week ago, there was a news article talking about how they were looking for an older gentleman on a motorcycle who possibly had seen the incident. And I had reported that. Here's the twist, and I truly feel terrible for this family and this young girl, but none of this makes any sense. This article was 2 days after the article that I shared about the older gentleman in his 30s to 40s, gray hair on a motorcycle that may have witnessed this. So a 17-year-old teen has been charged with attempted murder in SA with a weapon of a person under 16 in an attack on a child. Had additional suspected it was an animal, the OPP police say. An 8-year-old girl was reported missing on June 23rd in Quaidville, southeast of Barry's Bay, and about 170 kilometers away from Ottawa. She was found shortly after midnight, following morning with life-threatening injuries. At the time, police warned parents in this rural eastern Ontario town to keep the children indoors and supervised. Earlier evidence suggested an animal attack. In Ontario Provincial Police said Wednesday in this media, while the incident is still under investigation, recent testing of samples taken from the victim's wound has now revealed no trace of animal DNA. Police say the 17-year-old suspect, who cannot be legally identified because he is a minor, was arrested and charged on Tuesday and remains in custody. Police scheduled a town meeting for Saturday, July 12th. The Eastern Ontario community of Quaidville is reeling after Ontario Provincial Police revealed they charged a 17-year-old boy with a horrific attempted murder in SA of an 8-year-old that police initially believed was an animal attack. So I don't know how to even think about this. I want to keep people updated on the cases that I discuss on the channel, and when they pop in and look real strange. I don't know, and I'm not going to even speculate or make any assumptions. I'm not even going to talk about this case anymore because I don't know how they could ever mistake. This girl was clinging to life savagely, like so bad that they thought, this was an animal attack. Well, an animal attack looks very different than a human attack, and that's all I will say. I don't even know. I don't know. I pray for that little girl, and I pray for her mom and dad and the rest of her family, because it's either way, it's horrific. And I might look and see what else occurs in this case, but I won't talk about it anymore because none of it makes sense to me. And I'm not even going to go down a rabbit hole and speculate on things. I have my own opinions on things right now. And strange. That's all I will say. Strange and horrific. Let's get into Yuri and Leo's conversation. All right. So, a little backstory. If you hadn't heard Yuri's experience or the experience that he shared with us, yesterday's first upload. Now, a little bit of information on Leocato. And he's 58 years old, born and raised in this area, Campeche. His father is from the area of Coba, Mexico. His grandfather and great-grandfather are also lived in this region of Coba, Mexico. Very isolated and rural region in Mexico. Very interesting. I do have to let you know. It's in the Tulum municipality. It's a very beautiful area. And it is tropical rainforest jungle all around it. There are a few main roads, 109, and a couple other roads that run through to get there. It is a tourist attraction now, this area. But Coba has a history, and Dogmen are part of that history, on top of other very interesting cryptids. There is rumored to be aquatic cryptids similar to crawlers, which kind of now I know why I don't like water except my shower and an occasional pool. And there is supposedly sightings of Nephilim. And when I say Nephilim, I mean the real Nephilim, not a giant. There's a difference. We talked about it on the live, and I explained the difference. It is biblically and scientifically explainable. There is a difference. A Nephilim and their descendants have supernatural powers. A giant is just big. There has been giants in bones spotted and found everywhere throughout the world. There's a tribe in Africa somewhere that are like bones found 12 feet, which falls into that Nephilim height. It was like 12 to 18 feet. So anyway, Coba sits in this middle of this tropical rainforest jungle. And it is literally in the middle of the Yucatan Peninsula, like right up in there. There's two lakes or Laguna Coba and Laguna Makanchak, which are lakes. Coba, the town, is surrounded by, or Laguna Coba sits in the middle of both towns. It's almost like a U. So you got part of the town here, part of the town here, and the lagoon sits right here, or Laguna Lake, and then Laguna Makanchak sits right here. There are 2,000-year-old pyramids in this area. There are unexplored pyramids and unexplored cave systems. Also, there are cave systems that have their own kind of aquatic life. So just to set the stage for you, you've got a touristy kind of attraction for archaeologists and people that like to explore. I would love to go to this place. I would probably be in heaven, minus the heat and humidity, but I think it would be amazing. Minus what goes on. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of background on this area. This area that we're going to talk about is called Makanchak. It's a Mayan word, Laguna Makanchak. It's a Mayan word. There is literally no proper English way of pronouncing the word. There's 25 different pronunciations of this word. So Makanchak is a significant part of the Coba site in Mexico. In this area, Coba is known for its 3 large unexplored pyramids, numerous altars, and 8 carved stelae, some which are difficult to discern due to erosion. The site is also notable for its network of stone causeways and stelae that document ceremonial life and important events. So imagine finding this in the middle of this jungle. Unexplored pyramids, unexplored cave systems, unexplored water cave systems. And then there's these stelae that depict different things. And there are depictions of dogmen and other kinds of cryptids, giants as well, or Nephilim. So Leo Cadio, is 58 years old, and he grew up in this region. His father worked with or for the Mennonite. When he was a little boy, he would work with his father. They would harvest trees for Mennonite, and the few of the Amish family that did go with the Mennonites to Mexico when they did their voyage. It's just so weird. You don't think of Mennonite and Amish in Mexico. It's like, they used to harvest trees, wood for the Mennonite / Amish folks that are there. And so they could create, they're expert woodworkers. Upstairs I have this beautiful coffee table that was created by the Amish in Pennsylvania. And it's like a 150-year-old barrel that they turned into a coffee table. It's literally my favorite thing. So harvesting this wood, his father used to tell him of stories that his grandfather and his grandfather's grandfather used to have, or grandfather's father used to, when they were living in this region. And he was told from an early age that when in this jungle, to keep his father within eyesight. And if he was ever to lose that eyesight from his dad, like even if his dad went around a tree just to do something, yell his father's name, not dad, or yell his name, and wait for his response, which would be Leo Cato's name. Like, we'll just call him Leo. Like I said, it's a very old, ancient name that is not used. Mexican people do not name their children this very often. But he is as a form of respect to his lineage. The reason being is if he was to ever lose sight of his dad, to yell his name, and when he got the response of his name back, and his father would try to look for him and to keep saying his father's name until he could lay eyes on him again, because there is supposedly some sort of demonic creature that will answer, like if you said, "Dad, where are you?" or the Mexican, I never took Spanish, I took Latin, so pater was father, so frater or whatever. It would respond, "I'm here, son. Come to me." But this way, it wouldn't know his name. Nor would it realize that, hey, you're calling, who are you calling for, So it wouldn't, chances are it wouldn't respond back. I guess his grandfather had been in the jungle with Leo's father and his father's brothers. There was 3 brothers. Leo's dad, and he had 2 brothers, so 3 kids, and a little brood of girls. There's like 6 children in total. He had not shared this information with his kids, and the 3 boys were out helping his grandfather harvest wood, harvest tree, and all of a sudden one of them had gotten lost. Apparently he had walked off to possibly use the bathroom, and that is not known why he walked off. It is not known. His father doesn't know why. The last he remembers was he was walking to his grandfather. His father and his brothers were walking to his grandfather, and they were all talking. And for some reason, when they got to their grandfather or their father, one of the brothers was missing. And he said, "Where is your brother?" And they kind of looked like, he's not here. They were having a conversation minutes prior to this. They hear this earth-shattering scream, and the father takes both boys and hands them a axe for cutting timber, and like some sort of kind of carving tool, and hands them these tools and starts running. He says, "Do not move from this spot no matter what you hear. And you watch each other. You sit close to each other, and if anything other than myself comes, and if I come and you see me, when you see me, you say my name. And if I don't respond to you, to that name with both of your names, don't let me come near you, because it's not me." He goes and looks, and apparently just not very far away, he found his son completely just disemboweled, like violently attacked by some sort of creature. They saw claw marks as if something had scaled this tree. And it looked like it was trying to take him up the tree, because he must have screamed as he was getting attacked, and this thing was going up the tree with him, and he must have dropped him because there was like blood on the tree and stuff. So that was his first introduction to how dangerous this jungle is. And they do not have, there's not a name for this demonic creature. It is supposedly a demon, and they believe, to me it sounded like a shapeshifter, and some people are going to say skinwalker. No, a shapeshifter, something far stranger and much more dangerous. I believe you are dealing with some sort of ancient evil. Skinwalker is a Navajo name, Yenadalushi, black magic shaman practicing to change their shape, to hunt the Ute. These Mayan temples, these Mayan villages, these just ancient 2,000-year-old pyramids are so... There's two different kinds of realities here. You've got almost modern day shape-shifting skinwalker in some sort of demonic Pazuzu, or you know what I mean? Like just something we don't even understand. And I know people will be, I understand demons. You read the Bible, it'll tell you. Yes. I've read bits and pieces of the Bible. I love theology, but we don't understand any of it. It is so complex. So whatever this thing is, there is no depiction of it except for a person with a person that looks like it, in a petroglyph or hieroglyph, very similar, with this tail. That's how they put it. Like, so if it was me and then me, but my second me would have a tail, and that's how you would depict me, as this shape-shifting demonic creature. So that was his first introduction to how dangerous these jungles around Cabo is, or Coba, Campeche, all in this Yucatan area where this massive forest or jungle is. Right, so that is just a little bit of what he has known of. There's a lot of stuff that he really shared with me, and it's just terrifying. 2020 or 2021, there is a group of Canadians who had gone down to the area. He does not remember the exact year. He just remembers that it was 4 or 5 years ago. Apparently, these Canadians had come down to Coba and do a little bit of, admiring archaeology and the digs, and to check out some of these caves. There are these caves that are, people can swim in them. There's an actually, like, you can go, there's lights and such. So apparently these two Canadians had gone to this area pretty close to Coba, and they had decided that they were going to go swimming. Instead of going to the lakes that are right there, they were going to do this underground cave swimming. Now, there were about 5 in total. This is just from Leo's perspective and memory. Apparently 3 came out, and when they had contacted the police, police had gone, and they weren't even going to go in. They didn't even want to go into the water to recover the bodies. They didn't want any part of it. There was like a 2 to 3 day wait for the bodies to possibly surface, because they were last seen swimming. And next thing you know, they scream. One of the people had said that he had seen some sort of scrawny, kind of white, aquatic creature, very similar to what we call crawlers here, but this was in the water. They had been in this little swimming area in this cave, and they heard a splash, and then they heard another splash. They're looking around trying to figure out if the cave was coming in on them, and they see one of these things just jump off of the wall into the water. As that happens, they start swimming back to the, opening and where you can be on dry land. It's still underground, but I hate spelunking. I've spelunked 3 or 4 times in the Adirondacks, and it's terrifying. I cannot do it. I couldn't even swim. It's like, this is so dangerous. They're swimming and they hear their friends. The next thing they know, they are looking for their 2 friends and they cannot find them. When they surface and law enforcement eventually drags them out 2 to 3 days later, their bodies are mangled. There is supposedly no fish or any kind of life in these underground cave reservoirs, but how do you explain the brutality of these attacks? They're torn apart, essentially. The police make the announcement that the Zeta Cartel, or an offshoot of the Zeta, the Grupo Cartel, or Grupo Regional, were responsible for this, and they were shot. And Leo knows for a fact that they were not shot because he has friends that are in the police department and in the medical examiners, and it's not like here. This is a shit show for for any kind of medical analysis. And they were shredded. They were just torn apart. Supposedly, and this is just from what Leo said, that he had heard that law enforcement did to make it look like they had been executed by the cartel. And then they were pushed into the water to cover it up. I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that the Mexican policia would do something like that. They're probably just as corrupt as the cartel. And how, tourists died here, we got to cover our ass. We don't want the government. We don't want the American government coming down in here. We don't want the Canadian and figuring out exactly what in the hell is down here. Or maybe I'm positive that our government knows this shit's going down there. It's not, anytime these creatures are spotted, CIA contractors are on the spot, so then this Grupo offshoot of the Zeta apparently are running drugs, and they are setting up these manufacturing kind of in the middle of the jungle, these manufacturing sites where they just manufacture meth, coke, whatever. There's probably 10 to 12 of these cartel members they're employing the poverty people, the people that don't have anything, which is the majority of people down there, especially where this is. So they're watching and guarding the product, making sure that everything is done the proper way, and not caring about anything to do with the surrounding area. Well, apparently they were really close to one of these archaeological unexplored areas or causeways that lead to some sort of pyramid structure, and that they hear these like loud thumps and they feel a vibration as the workers are terrified. The cartel members are on edge because they've heard the legend, but they need to be paid. This is their job, so they've got guns, so let's do battle. Apparently they spot something that was somewhere between 15 to 18 feet in height. It was red-haired, and it did not have a beard. And that Leo brought that up immediately. He said it had long red hair, but it had no beard. He said, how did it not have beards, and it was wearing some sort of cloth like shorts, not pants, short pants, no kind of covering on its chest, and it was white, like white, paper white, with this red hair, and the only hair on its body that was visible was its red hair. There was no kind of chest hair, there was no what appeared to be arm hair, no beard, nothing. So possibly it was unable to grow hair. Who knows? We know that Neanderthal, per Danny Van Drimeny, evolved during the Ice Age and grew a thick covering of fur/hair to protect them from the Ice Age, the European Ice Age. So, it makes sense. And he and I talked about that. I was like, well, maybe through geographic evolution, that is why this thing did not have it. Anyway, they see this thing, and what they see next is these humanoid dog creatures with it. And Leo said there was somewhere between, and he said, give or take, I was not there. I'm going off of what I heard from people who were there. Apparently there was a few people that had made it out of this region. There was like 6 to 8 of these 7-foot dogmen, and half the size of this monstrous humanoid creature. And instantly they started to fire in response to being terrified. As they are firing, these things are, running and killing the workers, the innocent. I guess they would be innocent if they're forced to make this drug. And these cartel members, this Gropo regional cartel from the Zeta, and a few of them just run, and they hear gunshots. They just hear, and then they hear these screams. One of the men that did escape said that he saw the giant / Nephilim, because it had some sort of supernatural powers, that when a few of their buddies were trying to run For some reason, they couldn't. They were stopped dead in their tracks and screaming that they could not move. Stuck in the wood, in the jungle, just stuck. And as a few of them turned, they saw this thing, some sort of power or energy, like stopping them in their place. And these dogmen proceeded to kill the workers, the cartel members. A day or two later, they go back. They're forced to go back by the head, and they do not find any of the bodies. Their manufacturing plant or site is destroyed. Millions of dollars of filthy drug is gone because of whatever occurred. And he said that he has shared this, with other members that he is friends with in these Mennonite communities, warning them, that they need to be cautious, not just of the cartel. And they immediately, ones that did accept it instantly, when they heard of this Nephilim-like monster creature and the dogmen were a demon, instantly demonic creatures protecting the offspring's offspring of the fallen angel. Probably 4, maybe 5 generations, or who knows? I mean, I don't know. But these are the offspring of the Nephilim, the offspring of the fallen angel, Nephilim. Then however far you want to go back, Anakim, I believe they're Rothem and Anakim. There's a couple of other different names and regionally known as. So these things work, or were they created? I did an upload talking about how what if these dogmen were created to protect the fallen angels and protect the Nephilim, and maybe that is why. Because in the book of Enoch, the book of Giants, we are told that not only did these things bed with the daughters of men and man, that they then did genetic modification and bred with other animals, or possibly geno-spliced these creatures. I mean, they are demonic, so they have the power to do this stuff. So what just maybe, and this is one of those puzzle connections, that these things are the protector of the Nephilim. The fallen angels knew that, sooner or later God was going to get real pissed and needed to create something to protect its offspring and their offspring and their offspring, and used possibly DNA from the dog-headed alien/demon creatures that the Sumerian talked about. Oh, like I said, there were connections, and out of this 4-hour conversation that we were having, a lot of it was Yuri and I, with Leo, talking in a kind of broken Spanish/English. The second I found out that there were pyramids, and that the Mayans were there, and these are 2,000-year-old Mayan pyramids in unexplored buildings, pyramids, and other things like that, I'm instantly brought back to other pyramids, the pyramids in Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, Egypt, all throughout, and if you think about the power that these things have, it would make sense that there would be strange creatures. You have in Egypt, you have multiple hieroglyphs of chimera, which would be a genetic creation created by these fallen angels. And I know people are going to be like, well, God can only create. No, that's not true. These things, and it is in the book of Enoch, and it is in the book of Giants, these fallen angels created by breeding with the daughter of man, and by breeding with animals, and by genetically altering these things somehow. We don't know how. It's in these ancient books, though. So they did create something. It was not pure. It was not good like us or anything else that's on this earth created by the one and only, and looked out for by Jesus. But these are evil. So there's a tie-in. The pyramids tie in. It's so just terrifying to think about. You've got these red-haired giants in Lovelock. You've got red-haired giants in Afghanistan. You've got red-haired giants in the Solomon Islands. You've got red-haired giants in Central America. You have giants and other creatures in Chile. There is a massive connection, and it cannot be denied. It cannot be overlooked anymore. These are unadulterated evil. These are demons. So, there's so many different puzzle pieces, connections right there. And then, in fact, were those people that were at the manufacturing site there in the woods with tarps and, not like a factory, but like some setup, were they killed because and I said, do you think they were attacked because they were polluting a sacred area? And Yuri and I started to have a back and forth, and Leo said something very interesting. He said, why would they care about a sacred area to the Mayans when, they wouldn't care? They only did it because that's what demons do. They cause pain. They kill. They're evil. And I was like, well, that shit, yeah. I mean, that makes sense. I literally, Yuri and I had 40-minute conversation about why they attacked like that. Obviously get fired on by a bunch of guys with guns and you are some sort of demonic creature, you're going to attack anyway, but they were probably attacked because that's what they do. Or just like Dogman in North America, we hear about these, why do dogmen occasionally kill and why don't they normally? Why is there so many cases of them, just causing terror and kind of smiling, that dog-like smile when they're leaving? Because demons enjoy to cause terror, to cause pain. There's no other explanation for it. They are evil, just evil. This is Leo's experience. Leo had met Yuri, and he had been and agreed to bring some lumber to Yuri and to some of the people that Yuri knows, so they could build whatever kinds of things that they sell. So he's there's like a national park, Paracu National Park, and it's right on the ocean. It's right above Campeche. So he's in this national reserve or park, Paracu. He is harvesting wood for Yuri and Yuri's family and friends. Being that Campeche is right south of where he is, or where he intended on getting the wood from, rather than in an area where it was illegal to, he was illegally harvesting wood in this national kind of reserve area. He had been working all day and diligently. He had a few workers with him using rudimentary hand tools, essentially. A chainsaw, obviously, but, they don't have skid steers and stuff like loggers in America have. So it's getting to be dark and it's time to settle in. He's got this kind of kerosene lamp with him that he's carrying, going back to their tent, which was just a tarp suspended in some trees and some cots that they were sleeping on. He and another guy had checked their timber that they had harvested, and we're talking about how they're going to get it back to where it needs to be without getting caught and this and that, and coming up with an idea, maybe cutting it smaller than what it is. And as they are walking back to the camp, they're probably a couple 100 feet from their camp area, which is, you're in the jungle, that's some miles, it's, you can't see your camp. They hear a growl, this just deep, terrifying growl. Instantly they think dog, or some other kind of jungle creature. As they turn to look, he's got this kind of like old lamp, and he turns and looks at what is standing in front of them or behind them, and he immediately sees these yellowish eyes just in the shadows, and it's still growling, this just really loud, terrifying growl. And it makes this weird kind of bark / gnashing of its teeth, like when a dog really gets mad and it's gonna bite, that bark it does before it bites, and you can hear the teeth gnash. And he anticipated this thing was going to come running after that noise. And the other guy that was with Leo at the time had like this really crappy piece of crap flashlight. And they're both kind of turned and looked at this. He's got his little flashlight on it, and Leo's got this lamp. And he doesn't know what else to do. They don't have firearms on them. They don't even have any of their working tools with them. And he throws this lamp, and it smashes on its chest, like your region. And he recalls, he said it was almost instantaneous that when it smashed, the fire just went, and he could smell hair burning, he could smell flesh, and it was yiping and enraged all at the same sense. It actually contemplated on still charging at them. They have nothing. He just threw this thing. It's on fire and spreading, because it's flammable, and it's spreading down this creature because it's dripping all over it. And it contemplated on charging at them. He recalls it like he said it thought about it. He said I could see it in its eyes that it thought about coming. It still thought about coming no matter how much pain it was in. And it just took off running. It turned and took off running, and all they could see was this flame. And he never saw it again. They went back to their camp. They stayed up all night. They had hand tools in their hands, machetes, these axes, these carving kind of adze or whatever they're called, tools. And you're not going to fight a freaking Dogman with a chainsaw, but they had all their tools and they stayed awake until they could get out of there in the morning. So at least they would have a heads up if one of these things came back for revenge, or if that one did. He does not think that it survived the night because it was a blaze of fire when it was running. So crazy, and you think about where Yuri's friends and people he know that had that experience with that Dogman that pretty much wiped out a family of Mennonite in Campeche, and this thing's right there. So connections, yeah, I think so. These things are running wildly through the jungles and unchecked. At least up here, running through the Appalachia, we got some good old boys with some good old firearms. In the Adirondacks, a totally different world down there. It was absolutely insane. Okay, so that was all the information that Yuri and Leo shared with me. Leo is going to be going out towards Koba. He's in Campeche now on the Yucatan. But he said within the next couple of months, he's going to go up there and visit with his family that lives up there. He said he'd try and get some pictures and videos for us of some of the things that he talked about, like that cave with the water, swimming area, and the one area where the manufacturing campsite thing was, and some of the pyramids as well. Because you can look it up online when we were talking, and I'm looking at images of it, but you can't get a real feeling of it. One, there is no height comparison and stuff unless you're there. So, Leo, Yuri, thank you. I appreciate all of your information, and truly two amazing dudes, and thank you once again. With that, I'd like to thank you for supporting this channel. It is your support that helps this channel to continue to grow and go, and what gives us all a place and a chance to share our experiences and theories judgment-free. Everyone is simply treated with the respect that we deserve. With that, stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and our friends. These creatures are real. These events have happened. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for the truth. And God bless you all.